Okay. How's everybody doing today? Well, evidently our intro did not run, so that's okay though. Welcome to the rundown. I am your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
Shouldn't we try and fake the intro or something?
Okay.
Hey, welcome to the rundown. My name is Mike Pewarski. I'll be your co-host today, coming to you live from the East Coast, the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most. Here on the rundown, we promise to bring you 2A views of conservative news, just not necessarily intros.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you what. How about we do
Gremlins.
How about we give him the intro? We'll do the intro like right now. All right. So does that make you feel better, Mike?
Yes, it does make me feel better, Craig.
Okay, I'm glad you do. I'm glad you feel better because honestly, that's the reason why we do this show, to make Mike feel better.
Yeah, listen, folks, we have these little glitches that come along, and when I start to move my lips and there's no sound come out, you can hear Craig's butt pucker because he's obsessed with this program, and it abuses him like a bad high school relationship.
It really does. It is just, this program is just not nice to me. And there are a couple of different programs that connect together.
Right.
But what's worse is that when you test and you test and you test beforehand, and then you go live, and it's like, yeah, nah.
Yep. Every time, 60% of the time, it doesn't work every time.
Well, oddly, it seems to give us the most trouble on Fridays.
Well, that's because all the engineers are gone home for the day.
Right. Well, that there be how it be. In any case, we're here, and we're now live, and we're now getting it done. For those of you who do not know, for the first time, we are broadcasting on Rumble today. So that's kind of fun. I know we don't have a huge audience on Rumble yet, but at least we have a place where we know that our videos will be, and they won't be taken down, or they won't be censored, or they won't, you won't need the more context is needed type of comments on our videos.
Good, right?
Good.
Rumble's the that's the conservative one, not the other one with a similar sounding name.
It's not so much conservative as it is they believe in free speech. I've seen some liberals on there, like I think I've seen the Young Turks on there, which are
that's flat conservative value, though. Yeah.
Huh? Right.
That's a conservative value,
Right. Well, there you go. They actually believe in allowing people to speak their mind, and they believe in the marketplace of ideas. So that's why a lot of conservatives have switched over to Rumble, and that's why we are now on Rumble as well, because they give us the ability to live stream. Funny how that works, huh?
The conservative value is the free speech for all, and the liberal value is free speech for liberals.
Exactly. They get free speech. They get to say whatever it is that they want.
Yes.
Well, and even then, it still has to be consistent with the liberal line.
Right. It's free speech for liberals. Yeah.
Well, no, because you can be a liberal, but if you're not spouting the line of the day, if you're a liberal who's actually, says something moderately reasonable,
free speech for how about free speech for liberal speech? How about that?
There you go. Liberal speech is free. There you go. Yes. I like that. That pretty much fits it. In any case, sir, it is Friday, and tell us a little bit about what you got planned for the weekend.
Yeah. So how about that Super Bowl halftime show? Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's a little old school. That's a little behind the times, but okay. Yeah,
we're not. Let's see. This weekend is I'm gonna do some flying tomorrow. Some more flying tomorrow, and Sunday I'll probably do a little more flying, and Monday a little more flying, and try and knock out a couple of days. Got a couple of days of good weather here before the ridiculous weather starts to show up in Florida. So try and knock out a bunch of stuff before the weather starts to come in and ruin things again.
Now I understand that there was a real cold front in the Midwest. Is that working its way out towards you?
Ooh, yep. It is. In fact, we are supposed to be 55 degrees tomorrow morning. So it's going to be jacket and shorts weather.
Jacket and shorts weather.
I'll send you pictures.
Like I said, I've only seen you in pants when you've worn your dress uniform.
Yeah, that's right. That's like I said. Unless there's a court order or a funeral, I'm not wearing pants anymore. You know.
Long pants, long pants.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's, yeah. Well, that's what I mean by pants. You know. Otherwise, they're shorts. You know. It's just
Right.
pants, and I'm not talking that in between pirate pants crap that goes below the knee. That's you can keep that. You can
You
keep that.
keep the pirate pants. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not doing the
All
pirate
right.
pants.
Well, let's go ahead and get into today's news.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting things, interesting things. You know, it's funny because, you know, the more you get a chance to hear, I'm one of those that I realize that people, when mics are open and they think people aren't listening, they're more willing to say stuff that probably they're afraid is actually going to get out. But then again, I am also a fan, in particular, when we talk about government having an open mic. I'm a big fan of opening government's mics so that we can hear what they're saying and what they're thinking and what's going on. And folks, that is exactly what happened with the CDC. So the director of the CDC, Rochelle Lewinsky, had a private meeting with members of Congress, and they were talking specifically about mask mandates and specifically about mask mandates in schools. Now, here's the crazy part. So, as they're asking her about the mask mandates in schools, she comes up with some of these things. Basically, what she said was, we'll make a long story short, she basically said that, yeah, mask mandates in schools aren't going anywhere. And here's quote number one, where she says, the CDC provides guidance. Our guidance currently is that masking should happen in all schools right now. Right now, this obviously has pissed a lot of people off because, as was noted, and by the way, this is an article that was in Reason that is written based on that commentary, based on that audio, that leaked audio. Now, the interesting thing is that you in essence had members of Congress, Republicans and Democrats, questioning why masks were still in place. I mean, in one case you had the CDC. In one case you had not CDC. In one case you had it debunked, completely and utterly debunked. Masks with Omicron, in particular cloth masks, do not work. Right? They were saying that, and there were also reports that masking kids, specifically the article in there in the Atlantic, noted that this was just a bad idea. And she comes back, and what's funny, Mike, is so she comes back in this piece, and she says, well, you know, it's just guidance. But she knows that all of these schools and all of these school districts are looking for the guidance. And what they're specifically asking is, what is the data behind the guidance that you are giving? And their only data is, well, a lot of people are getting Omicron or getting COVID, so kids should be in masks. And that's really it. It's not, okay, well, who's getting it? Where are they getting it? You know, let's look at age groups. Are they getting sick? Are they not getting sick? None of that had anything to do with any of the data or any of the information or any of the recommendations that were being offered by Ms. Walensky.
White people, right? I mean, we've got our fair share of idiots too. She's clearly one of them. Refuses to give up. You know, she's probably been told or believes or somebody told her that we have to have masks until the very end or we're all going to die. And she has no way to defend her position whatsoever. And she comes up with the lamest reasons for it, as you just explained. It is more of that holding on to the last bit of control. It's what she thinks. It's clearly what she thinks, but she wants to have you do it with no science to back it up whatsoever. It's we're seeing this go on in Canada right now. The fight going on up there. They're seizing money today. Did you see this, Craig? Not that I'm trying to take us off of Canada, but taking money away from they seized the bank accounts of these truckers and anybody that supported these truckers. You know what? I'll tell you what, Canada. You're about to get some American Revolution going on up there,
right?
And there's plenty of frustrated people down here that would be willing to help. So you want to see an insurrection? We might actually get to see one soon, Craig. You know.
Well, but you know, Mike, and here's the thing, and I will only give her this level of credit. I'm pretty much assuming that she is operating on orders from the Biden White House. It's the Biden White House that is saying, yeah, these things need to stay in place and make up whatever excuse you can come up with to keep the mask mandates in place because we need to keep the teachers unions happy.
Yeah, exactly right. Same thing with the story yesterday with the insurance company that settled with the lawsuit out of Connecticut. That's all guidance from the Biden administration. That's all this is at this point.
And you know what kills me the most about it, once again, is the only people who are suffering are children. Children are the ones, primary ones who are suffering. There is not a study out there. I don't care if it's the World Health Organization. Nobody is recommending that children under the age of 5 should be wearing masks. And they're not anywhere except the United States. In fact, in every other place in the country, in every developed nation and undeveloped and third world country, children are not wearing masks because it has already been deemed that, they're not at serious risk in this disease. And this is not a new thing, not a new thing at all. But yet you still have the left promoting and pushing fear because, well, as we know, fear is how you gain control.
It's Craig. It's got nothing to do with health anymore. You're absolutely right. If it was correct, why would we be sitting next to each other on the airlines? Why would all the seats be taken again? Well, we have the mask on. It's the magic mask. It's okay.
The magic mask.
I thought we had to social distance, but why do the children have to wear it? It's not based somebody. I want somebody to stand in my face and tell me to wear the mask. I literally want somebody to stand in my face and tell me to wear the mask because they're right now they want to hide behind a table that they get to sit behind after they're elected to an office.
Right.
Bring that office to me. Yeah, and we'll have this conversation. Otherwise, she has zero credibility, and hope she trips and falls on the ice somewhere, and her mask saves her life.
At least you are not, by the way, that is not a threat of violence. That is simply wishing someone get their up and comings is not in and of
she's
itself.
Got her safety device, and this safety device clearly saves her from everything.
Right.
It clearly saves her from everything. So, hey, slip on the ice. Show me that your mask works. Let me see it.
There you go. I hear you, sir. I hear you. All right, let's move right along. Oh, this is one. This is one that I had to talk about. Black Lives Matter. Well, they got an issue right now. Now, we already know that the co-founder of Black Lives Matter has already been, there's been this whole, they quit Black Lives Matter and they went and they bought multiple high-end homes in other real estate and spent other money. Well, and we also know that their Black Lives Matter has been basically refusing to provide access to their books, and in particular in terms of reporting on where the money that they're getting. And by the way, they've received over $60 million since the George Floyd thing happened, since the George Floyd incident. $60 million, and yet, and from a lot of it, most of it from large corporations trying to assuage their white guilt. But now Amazon, Mike, are you familiar with Amazon Smiles?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So for those of you who are not, it's a program where if you sign up, if you can basically a percentage of every purchase you make will go to a specific nonprofit that you identify if you sign up through Amazon Smiles. And they were signed up through Amazon Smiles. Well, as it turns out, Black Lives Matter will not be participating in Amazon Smiles anymore because, let's just be frank, they have hidden the money and they refuse to tell people where the money is at. And they've received over $2 million through Amazon Smiles. So Amazon Smiles has basically said, you guys are crooked. We're not allowing you to partake or use our platform anymore to raise money. Which, by the way, Mike, just once again goes to show that when it comes to Black Lives Matter, they don't matter to Black Lives Matter.
No, evidently not, right? And it's evidently Black Lives Matter also supports white lies, right? Because they were not telling the truth here. They were keeping these little white lies from everyone. Listen, Amazon, being a Pacific Northwest company, they fell right in line. Oh, let's add them to this. We're inclusive of everyone. We're going to let Black Lives Matter in here. I'm sure they'll be honest. I'm sure, Craig, this isn't the first time they did not disclose where their money went to. Last year, they did not disclose either. So they got a whole bonus year out of this. Because if you think Amazon only asks you once every 2 years for your taxes, to prove where the money went, you're mistaken. So this has happened again. And listen, how many of you people, like Craig just said, you had to relieve yourself of your white guilt and give up all of your money to make yourself feel better, gave money to them, and now feel like you've been lied to because you were lied to. You were lied to. All right.
If you feel like you got
swindled,
it's because
you got snookered. You got swindled. You got snookered. You got your money taken from you, and the former chairman there bought themselves a $1 million, $2 million home outside of Atlanta, and all that property they bought down there in southern Georgia. Oh yeah, it was all for Black Lives Matter. Sure, yeah, for the chairman and his cohorts, and so they can live live high on the hog.
Her cohort.
Yes.
Yes.
Her cohorts. Yes, sir.
Yes. So, but dude, once again, this was just another example of, and folks, let's just be real. This is an organization that was founded by two Marxists or two trained Marxists, whose fundamental beliefs are based on Marxist principles, and yet and still they have, in essence, maximized the use of capitalism. I mean, they've abused capitalism in order to get what it is they want and to benefit themselves. And now it's finally catching up with them. But, it's only $65 million later.
The federal government, the DOJ, should be on their doorstep right now saying, we'd like to see what you did with your money for the past 2 years. Yeah. We'd like to know where these taxable donations went to.
Well,
we'd like to see that right now, please.
I doubt that will happen as long as the current administration is in place.
You're right, but lucky for us, that statute of limitations is more than 2 years and 8 months. So
Yep. And by the way, they can go back a lot farther too.
Yes, they can.
All right. Oh, today is just full of interesting stuff. Okay, I know you were wondering when you saw this, you're like, okay, what's the big deal with a teacher being fired? Well, let me explain this one to you. So, you guys remember back in 2018, there was this big march called March for Our Lives. And a lot of school districts were allowing students to leave school and not be punished, not get in trouble, but basically allow them to walk out of their classroom in order to join this anti-Second Amendment, anti-constitutional rights, anti-civil liberties rally. Because if you're against the right to keep and bear arms, then you are anti-constitution, you are anti-civil rights, and you're pro-tyranny. But they gave them the ability to walk out of class. Well, there was a teacher in what was this district? He was in Loma Prieta Joint Union High School District. He was a math teacher who basically told his students, yeah, I have a quiz scheduled for that day. So, if you're not here and you don't take the quiz and you don't have an excused absence, then you get an F. Well, that teacher was summarily fired for failing. And when I say failing, I mean he gave those students an F on the test or on the quiz that they were not there to take. Kind of makes sense, right? You don't show up to take a quiz, you should get an F. And by the way, we all know, one of the things about protest is if you're going to do civil disobedience, it's not really civil disobedience. It really doesn't have much of a matter if there's no consequences for your actions. But these students decided to walk out, and in essence, what happened was they fired him. They fired him for giving those students Fs on the quiz. I don't know whether or not they actually failed the class, but they at least failed that quiz.
Yeah, I can't see them failing the whole class, right? Because, one quiz is, what's that going to be in the long term? 1%, 2% of your grade, right. Something along those lines. But they darn sure should have received that F for that day if there was a quiz that day and they chose to walk out, right, Craig? It's ironic, like you said, that civil disobedience, they just assumed that there would be no repercussions from it. Now, here I will say this about the teacher. I have no idea. I have not looked into this deep. If the teacher scheduled this quiz this same day, I'd probably say that the students might have a case because you could say that it was politically influenced, that perhaps he scheduled the quiz when he did not agree with their politics. But if this was on his quiz schedule for 2-3 weeks before and in the books and everything else, I see no issue with this whatsoever. Again, if this was already a scheduled plan, part of his syllabus, get your butts back to class, or take the F. But if he scheduled this the day of the walkout, I think they may have a case. I think they could say that he was biased and scheduled it that day.
Well, but Mike, here's the thing. Once again, you're making the accusation. They would have to make the accusation that he is biased. My thing is, just allow the kids to take the quiz. Then just go back and say, look, you have to allow the kids to take the quiz. If that is the case.
I would say no, because if you're unexcused absence, you don't get the opportunity to take it. That's what
no. I agree. My point is, if you're saying that he scheduled the quiz during that time, well, then the other alternative, give people another time to take the quiz. Like I remember when the harder teachers that I had in high school, if I had, for example, a sporting event and there was a quiz set for the time or a test set for the time that we were supposed to be gone for that sporting event, they required you to take it early. You didn't get to take it later. You had to take it early if you were going to be taking the time out of class.
But that was a planned excused absence. That's the difference here. Yeah.
Right. My point is that this should not have been an excused absence at all because it was a political event.
Students should not have been excused.
Schools should never be endorsing political movements or political actions. So therefore, no, they should not have been doing that, or in particular one that's as partisan as this one.
Right. So now remember, there's more to this story, folks. This is not the students arguing about the grade. This is the teacher fighting with the school because he was fired by the school board.
Right.
So if the school board has fired him because he did a quiz on that day and it was pre-planned, then I think the school board would be wrong because it was already pre-planned. Now, if the school board came to him a week ahead of time and said, don't schedule any quizzes that day, and he goes, well, I've already got it scheduled, then I think he's okay. But if the school board or the school comes and says, listen, we're washing our hands of this, don't schedule any quizzes that day because we don't want to make waves, and then he scheduled a quiz, you know what? Don't be a butthead.
Here's what I will say. Now, keep in mind, in California, once you get tenure, and it doesn't say whether or not this teacher was tenured, they fired him for cause, which tells me that he wasn't probationary, right?
Right.
Once you get past your first 2 years and you're not probationary, it normally takes approximately 3 years and $250,000 to fire a bad teacher. I'm talking teachers who have cause. You have to have documentation up the wazoo to get rid of that teacher. For them to do this, there's either a lot of documentation, a lot of stuff on this teacher that didn't make the story and isn't out there, or they made a political example of him, and they're going to wind up losing this.
Yeah, and it all comes down to who told what when, and when was this quiz scheduled. We don't know any of that information at this point.
Well, I have a feeling that the school district's going to wind up coming out of pocket on this one.
Sure.
As a school board member who has dealt with, and I've dealt with situations not so much exactly like this, but I'm talking getting rid of teachers who needed to be gotten rid of, and the amount of stuff we had to go through to get rid of them. Something like this, I'm convinced they're going to lose this one.
Okay, and without knowing the facts, I'd be willing to bet that somebody in the school board or somebody at the school overreacted over an emotional issue and went beyond their own authority and fired them. Yep. And they're going to have to pay.
Yep, they're going to have to pay.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Time to make a transition to our next story, and you'll love this. This has to do with the city of Oakland and their transition closet. Wow. I didn't know what to think. As soon as I saw this story, all I could say was, really? So in Oakland, they've decided to launch a program called the Transition Closet in order to help students basically hide their gender transition from their parents. So in other words, they're basically taking their closet. So instead of just coming out of the closet, they're moving the closet to school so that they can do their transformation at school away from their parents, so that their parents have absolutely no idea what is going on or that their children are dealing with or are considering changing their gender. Um, Mike, I'm at a loss. I mean, this is okay. Let's forget about whatever you think about transgenderism, gender identity, and any of that. This is again an example of a school district, of a public entity hiding hiding stuff about their children from the parents.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the huge deal here, right?
Right.
You cannot hide things from the parents, right? You can't do this. What's next? They're going to have an abortion closet, Craig, where you go into the closet and there's a doctor there waiting, and we don't have to tell the parents about it,
In
right?
California, they actually have that, but in places where they have health clinics, you can, as young as 12 years old, you can go to school, you can meet with the school nurse, she can schedule an abortion for you and have you taken from school to the abortion clinic. Get the abortion, go back to school, and the parents would never know. So yeah, they already have that in California.
And this is why California is in the place that it is. This is why no one takes California seriously. This is why California proposed some new law today about being able to sue gun manufacturers, the individuals, and we already know the outcome of that before it even gets there, because the law was
Right.
deemed unconstitutional. Because we look at California and go, what are you morons doing? What are you doing? You just stay over there. Stay over there on your side of the Sierra Nevadas and do all that other stuff over there you want to. And listen, we're all gonna come to Nevada and start jumping up and down on the fault lines sooner or later.
It's the reason. Yeah, it's the reason why why California lost a congressional seat, because it's losing population. Now, keep in mind, with all of the homeless people who are moving, who are being shipped to, I say shipped to California, with all of the illegal or undocumented, whatever you want to call them, illegal immigrants that are coming into California, we still have seen a decrease in population in the state of California. And you want to know why that is? It's because of idiocy and stupidity like this. Because in our public schools, this is what we're doing. Instead of, I don't know, teaching kids to read, write, and do math.
Yeah. Yeah. Here, you want to know the curveball in this story, though, Craig?
Sure. Throw it in.
The Oakland, this Oakland school took this program with the cooperation from Lutheran Church in Arkansas, because the Lutheran Church there in Arkansas has this. So it's in cooperation with them that they've developed this program out there. So as everybody was sitting there on the side of their seat saying, "You damn liberals," this came from a church in the heartland. So
okay, I'm just going to put it this way, and because oftentimes in church you deal with a lot of people who are well-meaning people, but there's this, I call it the ragamuffin gospel, but there is this, we just need to love people where they are, and the problem is that while I don't disagree that as believers you need to love people where they are, part of what you do not do is you do not condone bad behavior. You do not condone that behavior which you know to be wrong, which you know to be, in this case, sin. You don't condone. You call it out. You recognize it. Doesn't mean that I care about you any less. Doesn't mean I love you any less. But I need to let you know that is harmful for you. That is wrong. And specifically, this is not something. Transgenderism is not something that is supported by Christian belief. Mike, you and I know, we talk in the gun community, we have friends who are transgendered, and they know where we stand, and they know what we believe. And yet we are still friends because they know that I still value them as a person.
Yeah, no, listen, no disagreement here. I'm just throwing the irony out in the story. That's all.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So, once again, though, and as I said before, my biggest issue with this is, you shouldn't be doing anything. You should not be encouraging people to hide things, or children, to hide things from their parents.
No.
You shouldn't. That is not within the realm that is not within the scope of your authority, Mr. and Mrs. Public School. It is simply not.
Exactly right.
All right. Okay, let's move on to our parting shot today. And this one is, well, this one is an oldie but a goodie. I've seen this one before. You've seen this one before. But it makes things very simple. When we start talking about banning guns or taking guns away, or we start talking about anything, when we start talking about being anti-gun, and as legislatures all across the country have introduced legislation, many have introduced anti-gun legislation or legislation that would seek to disarm the citizenry, this one makes total sense. Makes it this simple. When you have good guys with guns, and you have bad guys with guns. And then when you have good guys without guns, the bad guys with guns, they tend to point their guns at the good guys. Which, by the way, huh?
See the way that works? It's so simple.
Well,
Stick figures, easy.
Here's what's funny. I did an interview today on the bill that was introduced that dealt with guns, that would basically allow people to sue firearm manufacturers, right? And Gavin Newsom, and they said when they interviewed Gavin Newsom said, well, there's no evidence to support that gun crimes have gone up since we've been that crimes have gone up since we've been letting people out of jail. And I'm like, have you not been paying attention? And this is exactly what happened. I said, crime's gone up. Gun laws have not gotten any lighter. They have not gotten any easier. But we've decriminalized crime and we've let criminals out on the streets. And now all of a sudden we're seeing more murders.
He's not a smart man.
He's not really a smart man.
He's not a smart man. So his excuse was, listen, I know that 2 + 2 is 4, but that's a 2, and I'm talking about a 4. So it can't be the same. I mean, you can't have this and this and then expect me to believe 4. I mean,
right.
Those are 2 separate 2s.
Those are 2 separate 2s.
That's his argument right there. That
is pretty much his argument. All righty, Mikey. How about a shout out to our sponsors?
Hello to our good friends at Gorilla Machining, Grid Defense, and then, of course, the fine people at the California Republican Assembly.
Folks, we always appreciate when you guys tune in. We appreciate when you like and share the program. We also really appreciate it when you visit our sponsors and you purchase from them, you join them. Whatever they ask you to do, you do it. And when you do, make sure you tell them that you heard about them from the guys over at The Rundown. Hoping to have a big announcement for you on Monday. So hopefully you'll have a number of other opportunities to be able to watch and view the program. So check it out. Anyway, make sure you tune in on Manic Mondays, Gun Day Monday, as I think we're going to start to work to try and calling it Gun Day Monday. But in any case, we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing and telling your friends about The Rundown. This is the place to get 2A news and conservative views. We will see you on Monday.